2018's Aquaman is quite possibly the most underrated movie in all of the DC expanded universe. But why is that? Honestly, I think people went into the film with the wrong expectations. That's why today we'll be looking at Aquaman through 5 different lenses in order to conclude once and for all if the movie is
a mess
or
a masterpiece.
I'm Dylan, and this is The Writer's Block. First, let's take a look at how Aquaman stacks up as a return of the king narrative. To clarify, this is a story archetype in which someone who is essentially royalty, either willingly or by force, is cut off from their position of power. They then must undergo a character arc full of
meaningful life lessons
in order to return to power. Disney in particular loves this trope, with Black Panther, The Lion King, and most of their animated princess films following this structure to various degrees. Aquaman tries its darndest to be a compelling story of this type, but I think a few things severely limit its effectiveness. First of all, Jason Momoa's character doesn't actually come from Atlantis. His mother, Queen Atlanta, gave birth to him on the surface world, so he doesn't actually have any connection to the kingdom he's expected to govern. Characters like Simba or T'Challa have deep-rooted ties to the communities they ultimately rule over, which makes their Act 3 returns feel poetic and triumphant. Arthur, however, regularly voices his indifference towards the Atlantean people and only takes action after a major attack on the surface almost kills his dad. He eventually realizes that his unusual birth makes him a bridge between two worlds, but the sudden shift in attitude isn't necessarily earned, and it winds up making Arthur feel like a bit of a poorly written chosen one. Sure, Ocean Master needs to be removed, but Willem the Mermaid Dafoe seems like a much better option than Aquaman himself. That's why Aquaman, Return of King Triton is
a bit of a mess.
Despite the poorly written politics, Aquaman's biggest strength is the inspired world building found throughout. Because of that, the second lens I want to look through is how Aquaman is Star Wars, but with fish. In addition to having all the trappings of a Star Wars story, family drama, an evil emperor, a parent you thought was dead but isn't, and a real big fish, Aquaman also just radiates that same passion for filmmaking and conceptual design that made that galaxy far, far away so amazing. While Arthur not being from Atlantis was a problem for the Becoming King storyline, it's a huge bonus for the world building. We see the different kingdoms and species within them through fresh eyes, and you really feel a sense of wonder in it all. Almost every shot in the movie is overflowing with fascinating little details that can be easily overlooked. The technology and design language of Atlantis, while certainly unrealistic, is kept highly consistent, which breathes life into the heightened world of the film. Narratively, it's nothing new, but neither was Star Wars. Both bank heavily on people's obsession with the world these stories take place in, and Aquaman nails this aspect. There's a reason this film made over $1 billion. Every few minutes, the audience is transported to a fascinating new locale that is just ripe for creative set pieces. Whether it's Atlantis proper, the sunken desert kingdom, or the crushing depths of the trench, the viewer's imagination is able to run wild. The world James Wan and his team have crafted is so incredibly realized that it has the potential to be bigger than the DCEU itself. That's why Aquaman as Star Wars, but under the sea, is
a masterpiece.
Speaking of Star Wars, a major part of this movie is the star-crossed romance between Boba Fett and Nicole Kidman. Seriously though, the story of Aquaman's parents getting together, being split apart, and finally reuniting is used as the main framing device for the narrative. So how does the film stack up as a love story? Honestly, surprisingly well. I love Tamira Morrison, but if you told me I'd ever buy him and Nicole Kidman as a couple, I'd tell you,
what a weirdly specific thing to say to a person.
On a stormy night, Aquaman's dad finds Queen Atlanta washed up against the rocks. He rescues her, helps her regain her strength, and whoops, the two fall madly in love. Their chemistry is strangely electric, and their fish out of water couple dynamic is absolutely adorable. You really buy that they've created their own little slice of heaven, which is why it's so tragic when the Atlanteans attack, forcing Atlanta to leave behind both her partner and her infant son. Being the true romantic that he is, Boba Fett walks out to the edge of the pier every single day for multiple decades in the hopes that one day Atlanta will be there waiting for him. This allows the love story to interweave seamlessly with the A-plot. Arthur gave up on his mom returning a long time ago, and deeply resents the Atlanteans for tearing apart his family. It's not until he discovers that his mother is alive that he finally is open to the idea of ruling Atlantis. His parents' story runs directly in parallel to his own character arc, which is why Aquaman as a Boba Fett love story is undoubtedly
A masterpiece.
This just goes to show that the real treasure was the friendships we make along the way. Unless, of course, the real treasure is a dope trident and comic-accurate costume, in which case,
Screw friendship.
and let's see if Aquaman makes for a good treasure hunt. Early on, Willem Dafoe informs
Aquaman!
that his best path to the throne is locating the long-lost trident of King Atlan. Apparently, Atlanteans have mad respect for MacGuffins, and it'll legitimize Arthur as the new king. After escaping the duel with his half-brother, Arthur spends the entire second act trying to figure out the location of the trident, and begins a quest across multiple continents and oceans. It's a really cool plot in concept, but as Rise of Skywalker showed us, if you're gonna do an Indiana Jones story, you can't shove it all into one act. It needs to be integral to the story as a whole. Their journey gives us some of the coolest set pieces in the whole movie, like when the fish folk attack Arthur on the boat, but the audience doesn't feel like the stakes are all that high. It's only one small element in the overall story, whereas a film like Indiana Jones focuses on the treasure hunt for the whole runtime. Once we finally get to the trident, it's actually pretty great. The Earth's core is gorgeous, and Julie Andrews as the Kraken is straight up awesome. But the problem is, I mainly feel relieved that we can finally return to the main plot of Orm trying to become Ocean Master. It's never a good sign when a third of your story feels like a side quest. That's why National Treasure Book of Seaweed is
A big ol' mess.
Finally, I want to evaluate Aquaman in its most literal form, a follow-up to Justice League. You can pick for yourself whether Joss Whedon or Zack Snyder's cut is canon, but the critiques apply either way. Justice League acts as a semi-origin story for Momoa's Aquaman, in the same way that Civil War established T'Challa prior to Black Panther. But unlike Marvel, DC used Aquaman's solo debut as a way of distancing the character from his Snyderverse counterparts. If the fact that saturated colors exist in this movie didn't tip you off, Aquaman was DC's first step in its new direction towards less edgy, more poppy stories. It's not to say DC doesn't take things seriously now, but Snyder has a very distinct style of filmmaking, and Warner Bros. Clearly wanted to diversify their content. The lack of any meaningful connections to Justice League makes it feel like the continuity is tenuous at best. Any information given in Batman v Superman v Rotten Tomatoes is reiterated early on in this film, so it's by no means required viewing. It prevents the level of investment fans have in something like the MCU, but also makes it easier for new viewers to enjoy, which is no doubt part of why Aquaman is DC's highest grossing project to date. As a sequel to Justice League, there's no denying that Aquaman is a mess, but overall, it's such a joyful imaginative spectacle film that it easily ranks among the top tier of the DC expanded universe. I'm Dylan, and this has been The Writer's Block.